Yes, that's okay.
All right. Confirm if you can see my screen.
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay, I'm trying to work on the assignment you sent to me, right? You did a good job at first. Yeah, you did a good job. But I want to make it more structured for you. So I'm listing out the modules and the corresponding epics that should be there.
Okay.
So what you now do is that you now write the user story and the Gherkin syntax. Is that okay? So any of the user story that you've written, you will not repeat it again.
The criteria is, I'm really struggling with that. The acceptance
I'll
criteria.
also talk about that. I'm trying to write out the modules and this thing.
Okay.
You understand?
Okay.
So execution.
There's a lot of user story here.
Yeah. Because when I first saw 19, I knew that you've not covered everything. When I saw 19, I knew you've not covered everything. So I don't want to bother going further to look. So I just feel like, okay, let me just spend time to come up with all the possible modules that should be there. And then the epics. Then you write you now know how many user stories should be in one epic. So I'll allow you to phantom out to try to think through how many user stories should be in sign up, or sign up should entail what. There's even one I just remembered now.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. It's a lot of work for this particular one. Okay, sign up, sign in, email notification, profile, in account.
Yeah. I don't know why this thing is just.
Okay, for loan application, you see loan request, loan submission notification. Wow.
So loan submission notification is that notification.
Yes. Because there's loan application, there's notification. Loan progress notification. Loan disbursement. User repayment notification. That's system admin.
Not system admin. No. Which one?
Loan management.
As for the system admin that's going to do that.
Yes.
I want to remember one word. Oh, this word is eluding me. It's not screening. It's not assessment. I'm just forgetting this word.
It will come.
Eh?
It will come.
Let me just put it loan processing for you. Processing of loans, but loan processing is so large. I'm trying to remember this word. The word is just doing me, as it is just coming to
your mind and skipping. So is it still under loan management?
Yes. Where they but it's not the actual word I remember now. It's credit scoring, but credit assessment, yeah.
Where is that one coming in from?
Loans are credits now.
Yes.
So to assess if you are credit worthy, if you want, just like for instance, now let's say in the details you put there that maybe it's an individual, and you put there that your monthly income or your annual gross is 3.5 million, and then you end up you want to collect a loan of 10 million naira. How long do you think you're going to repay that loan?
Yeah, it's true.
So credit assessment, which is from the credit assessment that they're going to get your credit scoring.
To determine how much they will give you.
Yeah.
But the idea is I want to be able to select any loan amount I want and a repayment plan.
I'm coming. Is that what? Any loan amount and repayment plan?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the thing. So if you select any loan amounts and the repayment plan, it's come. I'm trying to think something. Okay, loan assessments, credit assessment. I mean, at the point whereby I select that loan amount, do you understand? And the repayment plan, if you click on submit, the system should be able to look at your details and tell you if you were able to get that loan. If you select maybe 5 million naira loan amount and your annual gross is 1.5 million naira gross, so 1.5 million naira, and then you said maybe, even though you said, I'm not sure you can get a payment plan of up to 36 months. It's very rare. Even though you get a payment plan of 36 months, which is 3 years, right? And your annual gross is 1.5 million and your loan amount you're selecting is 5 million. Do you think the person can pay it off in 3 years? No, because that is your annual gross. Your net is what they're going to be deducting your repayment from, your monthly repayment from, right?
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's most likely not going to work.
So
That's why our
that's
credit
where
assessment
credit
is,
assessment comes in.
yes,
Okay.
do those assessments if you are credit worthy, all those things. But now you're not writing it from the point of the system, you're writing from the point of the user. As a user, I want to be able to know my credit scoring when I apply, or I want to be able to know if I want to be able to know what my loan assessment is, or credit loan is something as credit, right? Then put it loan assessment here to make it easier for you to comprehend.
So that we know how much to request for.
To know if you will be able to know if I am I don't want to use worthy.
Okay.
If I qualify for that loan amount. Yeah, if you qualify. Then loan processing. Now, this loan processing now, in terms of loan processing, you're also writing from the part of the user, but the user here is the system admin. As a system admin, I want to be able to, you get the points? You have to know those things that are under loan processing. What are the activities that go under loan processing? Loan processing is going to be an epic on its own. Then we have
okay, so it means that what I submitted, I lumped everything together. I have to really break it down. It's one of the criteria of digital story. It should be small.
Yep.
Okay.
Loan disbursements, right? Let me not call it loan. Okay, this should be loan processing.
It's loan processing.
Then we have under processing. You be talking about approved or not approved. Do you understand?
Yes.
Yeah. So disbursement now, you have both system admin and the user and the borrower involved, because that's what disbursement. The same admin we don't want to disburse, right? Then the
Yes.
user, okay, don't worry, I've captured the type of the user, but the part for the user is the notification. But
Yes.
that's for disbursement is the admin, right? So that
Credit.
is what I'm.
Yes. I want to say some sorry. Crediting the borrower.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't see where I can capture it in the AP.
This is disbursement now, right?
Okay, disbursement.
Yeah, you
Disbursement.
disburse the loan.
Okay,
Loan
but this
disbursement.
disbursement, yes, this loan disbursement is for system admin. I mean, receiving the actual fund in the
Yes, so
borrower's account.
that's where you get notification that you've been disbursed the loan. That's why I
Okay.
see loan disbursement notification.
Okay.
Under this loan progress notification, that's why you'll be told whether that's why you'll be told the progress of your loan, if it has passed one particular stage or the other.
Okay.
You get the point?
Yes.
If it has been rejected, also you also get the notification. Maybe I just put the loan rejection notification to make it easier for you. Why am I typing this in? Oh.
So if there's loan rejection, there should be loan approval.
The
Notification.
approval. So let me take that thing out, right? I want it to be under this progress. I want it to be under this. Let me take it out. I want it to be under this progress.
Okay, loan progress. Okay.
Under progress, you should be able to get approval notification, rejection notification. And if it is rejection, it should come with reason. Do you understand?
Yes.
That is all for loan management, right? Disbursement, processing, assessment.
When you say loan assessment,
that is credit assessment.
Okay, credit assessment.
Yeah.
What about user repayment?
User what?
User the borrower's repayment. I didn't see the
where they repay this loan repayment mode now. Yeah.
Okay, loan repayment. Okay.
Yeah. Let me do dashboard. So for dashboard module, let me make it reporting. Right? Under reporting, we have dashboard. Loan performance reports. Remember, under dashboard, okay, loan performance reports. On that dashboard, you have
profile. Okay, this one is for system admin.
Loan dashboard, then loan performance dashboard. Loan performance dashboard. This one is for the borrower. This one is for the admin. You understand?
Yes.
Borrower wants to know in terms of status of his loan, right? On his dashboard. Wants to know in terms of amount he borrowed, the tenor, the repayment dates.
Like a history.
Yes, so it's a dashboard. Let me make it that. Let me keep it a dashboard rather than reporting. Dashboard as is.
The reporting comes in for the sysadmin.
Yeah.
Where he can generate loans collected for a period of time.
Yeah, so this lending reports now is where you need to download reports.
So what's the difference between this? Okay, and audit trail. Audit trail is just all activities on the system.
Activity. Then
logout. Logout, is it okay? There's login, logout.
Under system configuration, you're talking about loan setup, loan product setup.
Genesis, this user story is too much. Are you kidding me?
For a typical system now, you'll be writing close almost hundreds of user story. I think I told you that day.
Oh my God.
But it's not all about the amount of user story, right? It's about how clear it is.
How clear it is, right? Yes.
Yeah.
So will a developer look at, okay, I want to ask, what is, how will I rephrase this, please? what is being submitted to the developer? Is it this user story or the modeling?
So you submit user stories and your modeling. Do you understand?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. System config. What else are you
Because
configuring here?
because if you go to account sign up, sign in, that means
Mhm.
it's not just as a borrower, also as a sysadmin, I can sign up, sign in.
You can sign in, yeah.
Okay. So the user story there is not just only for borrower, but for okay. Okay. I'm thinking that user story have to first finish one user before jumping into another, unless they have some similarities like this login or signing.
You have to do what?
I'm thinking that for user story, you first
Uh-huh.
finish all information about a particular user before jumping into another. So it means that we have a borrower and a sysadmin. We have to first finish all the information about the borrower on the system. Then we go to the sysadmin, all the activities the sysadmin is going to be performing on the system. So what I'm
So,
asking this is this login, this sign up, this sign in page. So it means
yeah.
that the sign in page covers for both sysadmin and the borrower. Then I'll continue with other AP on the user story.
So you can say, right? Provided for instance, now a sysadmin might be logging with probably user ID and password, right?
Yes.
Or maybe using email address and password. If a sysadmin is going to use email address and password to sign in, just as a borrower is going to use a system use email address and password to sign in, you can now say that as a user, I want to sign in, or you can say as a borrower slash sysadmin. You get the point? So
Okay.
here, what you now have here is here will be as a, you should now be borrower slash
Okay.
sysadmin.
Mm.
Do you understand? System admin.
Yes.
Or you can just type it as a user. So everybody knows that, okay, this is general. You get the point? But if
Okay.
their signing is different, then you
Okay.
also you do when you're talking about signing. Let's say, for instance, now a borrower signs in with email address and password, whereas a sysadmin will have to sign in with a unique ID. So you say as a
Mm.
borrower, you talk about the borrower signing. Then as a system admin, talk about the signing under signing.
Okay. Okay.
So you don't have
Okay.
signing in another place.
Yeah. Okay. It's clearer now because when you said as a user, I was like, you mentioned that we should have a unique identification. So
Yeah,
saying, yeah, talking about borrower and at some point I'm mentioning user so that we don't
of course.
conflict. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
So
That's why it's called the user story. Remember, the system admin is also using the system. So he
yes.
writes it from his own point of view. How he also wants to use the system. Do you
Yes.
understand?
Yes. Yes.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I'm trying to think on system configurations, loan product setup. Um, let me go to user management.
What about
Okay,
password and
roles and
reset?
permission.
Okay, roles and permission. Logins, login setup, or is it part of
You're not setting up login, are you? I don't think you are. You should.
system setup in terms of maybe changing passwords and all the rest? Where do we
What
categorize
password
that?
of what?
Maybe
What password I said?
if a borrower cannot log in and we require
Is the
to
borrower that's going
maybe
to reset their password. Borrower will reset their password. I have password reset on that account. Password has to do with the borrower now, she.
okay, yes, yes.
So the borrower is going to have to reset his or her account.
Okay.
Then rules and permission setup, user creation.
Okay. So when you say roles and permission setup, what kind of permission setup?
So let's say, for instance, now, if you want to have two type of people to approve, level 1 person to approve, then level 2 person to do the approval. So you have to set up accounts for those ones. They are admin users. You understand?
Yes.
You have to set up accounts for them.
For them.
Remember, I did not put underwriting. You might want to put underwriting as well, right? Depending on however you want it.
Okay.
Then user creation, user edit.
What do you mean by user edit?
So you want to edit a user you've created. So let's say, for instance, now I put it, we built a loan management system, or there's a loan system. And then I said, you and Motu will be the one to be managing the system in terms of approving loans and disburse. Maybe Motu will be the one to approve and you'll be the one to disburse, right?
Yes.
Now let's assume you have issues with your password as an admin. You get the point? Instead of you going ahead to reset your password, is the admin that can help you to reset your password by editing your details. It's also the admin that can probably help change, maybe tomorrow, maybe they want to change your role, right? If I want to change your role to another role, you can change your role in that way too. User details, let me make user details. Let me make it more clear here and see. Admin user creation. See?
Admin user creation.
This the activation.
Is it not all these things, are they not under setup, admin setup? Or do we really need to break them down one after the other?
Remember that the admin is a user, right?
Yes.
So I'm managing that person. In managing a user, you create the user, right?
Yes.
You can edit the user details. You can deactivate the user.
It's true.
For instance, now if you leave the company and want to have another person, you can't allow your account to be running. You can basically deactivate your account and create another account for somebody, right?
Okay. Yes.
That is what that management entails, to manage users.
Okay.
So it's under this user, admin user, user detail that you talk about assigning them to a role, assigning permissions to them. Remember, we've created permissions and role.
Yes.
You assign a permission, assign a role to them. You understand?
Yes.
Then talking about audit log, right? Audit log will be audit log. Under that audit log, talk about viewing audit log, how you want to view the audit log as a user. Also downloading audit log, want to export it in what format? Maybe Excel formats, right? How you want to also view it, if you want to search, if you want to filter by date. You understand? Filter by date or time. Same thing with the dashboard or report, filter by date or time. Then loan repayments, loan repayments, talking about, let's do loan repayments for now. Finish all these ones first. I don't want to start further for loan repayments. Finish all these ones. come up with the user stories for these ones. Is that okay?
Okay,
Let's look at one of your user stories. You said create account, right?
Yes.
As a borrower, I want to create my account on the system so that I can have access to the system features. As a borrower, I want to enter my first name, last name, email address, and password in the system so that I can create my borrower account. So what I want to ask is this. Are you having one type of borrower, which is individual borrower, or you're having two types of borrower?
I'm having two types of borrower.
Okay, so if you're having two types of borrower, does it mean that everybody can just create with email address and password? And then when everybody creates with email address and password, then okay, let me just since you said let us continue. Let me look at your Gherkin syntax because I know you have to ask questions, right? Given that I have provided the accurate account creation details, when I click on create account, then my borrower login account should be created. So it should not be login account. My borrower account should be created on the system. You understand? So given that I have provided my accurate account creation details, okay? Then the next one says, given that I have received my email confirmation link, when I click on the email confirmation link, then my email should be confirmed. Okay. It could be not say email confirmation, say then my account creation should be completed, probably. Because this email, this thing should fall under account creation. Do you understand?
Okay, yes.
Should fall under account creation. Then this one says, as a borrower, I want to log into the system with my confirmed credentials. I can view, so that I can view the loan. What are you logging in with? I want to log into the system with my email address and password. Be specific. Do you get the point? What are you logging in with? Where I say my account, I want to log in with my confirmed credentials. No. Okay, the only credential I talk about confirmation here is only the email address. So you want to log in with only email address? I guess no. So I want to log in with my email address and password so that I can have access, or I can have access to my account. Yeah, I can have access to my account.
Reading, sorry, please. Because your screen is tiny. I'm trying to.
You said what?
The screen is tiny. I'm not seeing.
Okay, let me see. How far now?
Yeah, it's better.
It's better now, right? Sorry.
Yes.
So I'm in this place.
Number 5 or 6?
Yes, number 6. I want to log into with my confirmed credentials. What are your confirmed credentials?
Okay, password. I have to mention it.
So I want to log in with my email address and password so that I can have access to my account. Because at every point in time you log in, you're not viewing the loan request information. You're basically going to have access to your account, right? So I can have access to my account. Given that I've entered my login credentials, given that I've entered my email address and password, that is my there's this word I want to use. Oh, okay, just say email address and password. When I click on the login button, then I should be able to have access, or I should have access to my account. Is that okay? Then from here, the additional thing that I put for you here is password resets. That is the additional thing I put for you. Password resets and email profile creation. Is that okay? Then you went to request loan. As a borrower, I want to fill the loan request form so that I can apply for loan. So now, this is the next question I want to ask you. So you said that you are going to have two types of borrower, right? Individual and MSME, right? At what point do you think MSME should start taking effect? Or do you want, as in, I want to know, at what, because from what I'm seeing here, everything you're talking about is individual user. I mean individual borrower, right? You did not talk about anything with respect to MSME, isn't it? Is that still on call? Hello, Elsie, can you hear me? Hello? Hello, Elsie, can you hear me? Hello? Oh. Okay, you want to try to log in again? Fine. Okay. Can you hear me? Oh, you're saying you're back, but I can't see you. All right. So please confirm you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. So since you said you are going to have two types of borrower, you have to be specific when writing your borrower as an individual borrower, as an MSME borrower. Be specific at that point. You get the point? Because there are different types of user in the sense that what an MSME borrower is going to have access to, an individual borrower will not have access to that. Another thing I also want you to look at it is this. When both borrowers signs into the platform, when they sign in, they should be able to see option to select the type of borrower. Thereby, when I sign in, I should see individual or MSME. If I select individual, then I have access to individual borrowers information. If I select MSME, I have access to MSME borrower.
Borrowers.
But that particular thing should be done at the first point of creating an account. Do you get the point? So
Yes.
what I would suggest is this, even to make it more clear to you, is this. Let it be that when they come on the platform and they want to create an account, at the point of creating an account, the first thing they should do is to choose whether they are individual, they want to apply as an individual, or create an individual account, or to create an MSME account, which is corporate account. Do you understand? So when I select individual account, I will now say for individual account is email address, first name, last name, and password. For corporate account or MSME accounts, depending on how you want to put it, the borrower will now enter first name, last name, company name, TIN probably. That is to show that it's a tax-paying company, TIN, and then also CAC registration number, so that the system can verify to confirm that this is a company information, and the person can now go ahead to apply. Do you understand? The person can now go ahead to verify that email address they are using, and also go ahead to apply. Is that clear enough to you, or should I come again?
Yeah, it is. I'll just try and put it together and submit for review, because it's a lot of work. Like, I have to really
Of course.
yes, I have to really separate
Business analysis is a
individual
lot of
borrow.
work. Yeah. Business analysis is a lot of work. So that is it. That is why outside the source of this country, where they appreciate the work of business analysts, they pay them a lot. Do you understand? It's just in Nigeria here that where due to our economy, they don't pay them much. But when you go outside, they're paying, even in UK, in London, they pay business analysts close to almost £600 per day.
Are you serious?
Yeah. This was as at 2017 when I was even doing my own training. When I was doing my training in 2017, most of my colleagues, my fellow trainees that went abroad after our this, they were earning 450, 500 550, 600 pounds per day. It's not beans, it's not bobo, it's real. Because of the enormous work that business analysts do in a team.
Yes.
You understand? So, but that is fine anyway. Let's go ahead.
Okay.
So, that basically is, I don't want us to spend so much time looking at this user story. I'm end up not doing work for doing our session for today, right? So
Okay.
I want you to just go back from the tip I've given to you. Let it be at the point of creating an account. Let them select if they are a borrower or, I mean, if they are an individual borrower or a corporate borrower, right? That means your user story will be writing about individual borrower, writing about corporate borrower, writing about the two types of admin you have. They are different users as well, right? You might say processing admin or processing officer. You can call them that, a processing officer, someone that will process the loan. And they can also call the next one a disbursement officer, right? Someone to disburse the loan. So depending on how you want to call it. Is that okay?
Yes.
Then you now have the system admin that will be in charge of configuration. So you have like almost 6 types of users, right? Individual borrower, corporate borrower, processing officer, disbursement officer, and system admin. So 5 types of users on this particular system will be performing unique activities. So just use what I've written and then flesh out user stories for each and every one of them, and then get in syntaxes for them. Then we'll pick it up from there. Is that okay? But
Yes.
good work on your first trial. Very good work on your first trial. I'm very much impressed, to be honest. So back to the job of today. Confirm if you can see my new screen on what
Yes,
we'll be
please.
talking about today. Last week we talked about, we started solution requirements, right? Last 2 weeks we looked at specifications. Last week we started looking at modeling, where we looked at use case diagram, right?
Yes.
So today we'll be looking at data flow models or data flow diagram. And as the name goes, data is what? Information, details, how information flow in and out of the system, how information flows through the system. And there are different levels of data flow diagram, right? Unlike our use case diagram, when we say use case diagram is use case diagram. There's nothing like level 1 use case diagram or another type of use case diagram. A UML use case diagram is a UML use case diagram. But when you talk about data flow diagram, we have different level, and those different level of DFD, which is data flow diagram, depends on the level of abstraction you want to go. What I mean by level of abstraction means the level of detail you want to go, or the level of detail that is required of you in your modeling. Most times, we stop at level 0, which is this context diagram. But depending on the nature of the projects, one, and also depending on the form of data you'll be dealing with in that particular solution, you might be required to even go as deep as level 2. Do you understand? Let me give you a very good example of what I mean by level. So a good example is this, right? If you are on an aeroplane, you are flying from Abuja to Lagos, or from Lagos to Abuja, or you are flying from Nigeria to Canada, or Nigeria to UK, or Nigeria to Dubai, anywhere. If you are on an aeroplane, when the aeroplane is above the cloud, do you understand? When the aeroplane is above the cloud and everything, you can see every part of Lagos, right? You can see all of Lagos. You might even end up seeing 2 states at once. But let me not so much exaggerate. You can see all of Lagos at once, right? You can even use your one hand and block your eye and cover the whole of Lagos with one eye when looking from above, right? But as the aeroplane comes maybe 200 feet down, you begin to see the houses, you begin to see the streets, right? The lower it comes, you begin to see, at first you will not see the inner streets, you may only see the major roads, right? The major connecting roads, and then the probably skyscrapers and all of that. But by the time you begin to come down, you begin to see the streets that are involved in each area and all of that. And as you keep on coming down, you see more details. So that's what I mean. Your context diagram, you are looking, they call it an helicopter view, right? That's high, big, very high view, high level view, right? How the solution is connecting with external solutions. How the solution is connecting with external entities. Entities in this time, in this point, could be a system, another system, or a user. That is an entity in this term for data flow diagrams. Now, as you go down to level 1, you are now looking at how the system exchange information between processes within it. As you go down to level 2, you start looking at how the system exchange information between an individual process and other entities. So for level 0, which is context diagram, I'm basically looking at how the system exchange data between itself and an external entity, which could be a user or another solution that is integrated or connecting with it or exchanging information with it. When you go to level 1, you're now looking at how the system exchange data between external entities and between processes and between data storages. When you now go to level 2, you now look at how it now exchanges data within a particular process or a group of processes, and then the entities and also the data store. So data flow diagrams consist of basically 4 components. 4 components, yeah. Consist of 4 components, which is the process, the external entity, the data stores, and the data flows. So a context diagram, which is a level 0 data flow diagram, is a high level model that shows the relationship between the system and every other external entities, as I've mentioned earlier. External entities could be a system, organization could be a regulatory body, it could be an external data storage and all of that. Another name for context diagram is context level data flow diagram or level 0 data flow diagram. A data flow diagram on its own is basically a graphical representation of the movement of data through an information system. DFDs are one of the 3 essential components of the structured system analysis and design methodology, which is SSADM. And on its own, it has 4 major components, as I said. The process, which is the circle. External entities, they are the rectangles. You use rectangle to represent them, just as we have the ellipse or the oval shapes using to represent use case. We use the rectangle to represent external entities. We use the circle to represent the processes. And then we use 2 horizontal lines or 2 horizontal parallel lines to represent your data stores. Then your data flow is basically an arrow showing the flow of data, right? So let's go more details into what context diagram is and why we need to use context diagram, right? So context diagram helps us to show the scope and the boundaries of a system at a glance. It gives us that bird eye view, that helicopter view. When you look at a context diagram, you automatically know this is a system and these are the entities that the system will be interacting with, and these are the major, or should I say high level data that it will be exchanging. Context diagram is not technical in the sense that you don't need the technical knowledge to understand or to be able to grasp what the diagram is all about. It is very easy to draw and also to amend due to its limited rotation. It is easy to expand by adding different levels of DFD. you can't draw level 1 DFD without drawing context diagram. Neither can you draw level 2 DFD without drawing context diagram and level 1 DFD. Context diagram is like where you start and then you begin to what? Expand. You begin to go more details. So it's easy to expand because it makes room for you to go down to level 1, level 2, even level 3. Context diagram can benefit a wide range of audience, whether it's the stakeholder, your clients, or the business analyst or data analysis, or even developers. They love context diagram. It helps them to see, okay, these are all of the information that the system will be exchanging with entity A, entity B, entity C, and what have you. A context diagram helps to provide, a context diagram does not provide information about timing. Just as we have process flow diagram and use case that might have a timing consideration. A context diagram does not provide timing. It does not provide sequence in terms of step by step. After this step should occur. Even a DFD does not also, a level 1 DFD does not provide sequence or stages or step by step. Or neither does it provide synchronization of the processes that needs to occur in parallel or thereabouts. Therefore, a context diagram should not be confused with a flow chart or a process flow, which can sometimes show the sequencing, the timing, and also synchronization of the processes. So let's look at steps of how we basically draw a context diagram. For you to draw a context diagram, the first thing you need to do is to identify the data flows by listing the major document and information flows associated with the system. So a good example is this loan origination solution that you guys are working on, right? What are the data flows, or what are the data or documents or information that will need to be sent to this system and also taken out of the system? A good example is user information, right? Which talks about their email address, their password, isn't it? Another example of document or data or information that will be flowing in and out of the system, that will be flowing inside the system, is the loan request information, right? Another information that will be flowing out or flowing, an information that will be flowing out of the system is basically loan status information, right? That will be, the system will be generating the loan status or loan progress information, isn't it? Another one that will be flowing into the system is should I call it TIN? That is a data that will be flowing into the system. BVN will be flowing into the system. CAC information will be flowing into the system. Authentication information that you use to authenticate email address or authenticate BVN or TIN will be flowing out of the system, right? So these are like information. First of all, you need to identify what are the informations that that are necessary in this system, input information and output information. Then after identifying this information or data flows, you then identify the external entities, whereby you are identifying the sources and also the recipients of data flows. So you've talked about the data that will be flowing into the system. Now, what are the sources of those data? And who are the recipients, or what are the recipients? Sources of TIN information and also recipient of it. Recipient of TIN information will be FIRS solution. That is the Federal Inland Revenue Service. They will want to receive the TIN to verify it and then send confirmation to the system that yes, the TIN is right, based off the API we have connected with the system. API on its own is application programming interface, right? Then user email address, or should I say user getting SMS notification. That means user will be supplying their phone number, and the information that will be coming out is SMS notification, right? So you basically identify the entities. Entity is going to be the user. Entity is going to be TIN, right? Entity is going, TIN, which is FIRS. Entity is going to be CAC for verifying business name, right? Registration. Entity is going to be NIBS, NIBBS to verify BVN. Entity is going to be user, entity is going to be admin, and all of that. So you identify all of these entities who are going to either be a source of data or be a recipient of data. Then after that, you draw and label a process box for representing the entire system, and then draw and label the external entities around the outside of the process box. And then you basically add the data flows and the correspondent data or information that will be flowing in and out of them. So this is a typical example of a context diagram. So assuming this is an online platform where people basically go to get content in terms of information. A typical example could be Medium, right? A Medium is a platform where you go to read articles, where to read content, right? Content platform. So these are basically the external entities, these things in rectangle. Community user is an external entity, advertiser is an external entity, accountant, or you can call it probably, let's say, instead of saying accountant, you can replace it with another entity called payment gateway, right? Or you can say account solution. Then staff writer, or you can say content provider, is another external entity. Now, for the online community, which is the solution, or which is we can call Medium in this instance, right? What the content providers or the staff writers are providing to the system is the content, right? When they provide content, the community user, which is you and I that go to Medium to use, they register on Medium. So they are providing their registration information. When they are registering, they get informations and tools, information in terms of the content you read on Medium. Maybe you want to read information about business analysis, about data science, AI, fashion, and all of that. Another one is Pinterest. It's also another platform where people give content and people go there to get content, right? Now, for the staff writer, they get compensation, or you can say payment or fee. And that payment is generated from adverts. Now, adverts people basically make payments, and the system give them information that is called an advertisement or advert slot, where they put in their ads, right? They make payments, system pays the staff writers or the content providers for providing the content. Now, what information does the system give the accountants? It gives them the financial data. Financial data in the sense that the payments that have been made on the system, right, by the advertisers, the compensation payment as well that have been given to staff writers. So the system basically have a third-party system where this payment is made through, and then that provides the financial report. For the advertisers, they will get financial reports. For the community, for the staff writers, they also get financial reports. But this is just like a sample. If I'm to put all of the details that will be provided, advertisers will get financial report as information out of the system. Staff writers or content providers also get financial reports as information on the system. Even staff writers or content providers also have registration information that they'll be sending into the system. So this is just like a typical example of a context diagram, right? Talking about the system and then all of the external entities. Here is talking about the best eye view, high level data flow, right? It is now then that we can now start talking about when we finish this level 0, when we want to go to level 1, we now start talking about inside this online community. What are the various processes in this online community, and what information will they be sending, receiving, and storing? Is that okay? So that takes us to process modeling. I don't know if you have any question before we go to process modeling.
Okay, please go back to the slide, the previous slide. Okay. Yes, no, the sample.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. So with this, I want to just make sure that I understand it. The online community, so information flows out like the, hold on, please. for the I'm looking at the compensation and content. It means that the money from advertisers or payment from advertisers are used to compensate the staff writers, and staff writers also their own content goes to the online payment, sorry, the online community. So for a financial person, the information he requires is the financial data.
Yeah.
Sorry, the account, yes, financial information. Then it goes back to the system as financial report.
Yeah.
Okay, so the arrow shows different
The
inputs
flow.
and out. Yes, the
Yes.
flow.
Basically,
Okay, okay,
what is flowing in, what is flowing out.
out. Okay, okay, that's fine. Thank you. Understanding now.
Okay, perfect. I'm glad. So we should go ahead, right?
Yes, please.
Okay. So let's go to process modeling. Most times as a business analyst, when doing models, context diagram might not be as compulsory as a process flow. Do you understand? Process models are compulsory for every solution you are doing. Every solution you are doing or you're working on, you need a process model. So have that at the back of your mind. That is why process modeling is very, very important, because a business analyst is a process person, right? Is a process professional, because you want to understand processes, what flows from what end. After this, what happens next, right? It's just like when I was talking about your user stories, and you see me coming from the point of when I first mentioned, how do you want to cater for corporate borrowers, right? Okay, let's look at it from this aspect. What if the first thing they do is to select if they are individual borrower or corporate borrower? Basically, try to envisage what should be the best process to work with. Should the best process be for them to, first of all, create accounts and then select the type of borrower they are, or first of all, to select the type of borrower they are and then create accounts from there? Do you understand? So a process model is very, very compulsory and important for you as a business analyst in whatever project you are working on. Any project, even though you're not writing user story in that project, whether you're doing a process improvement or designing a solution, developing a solution, or doing gap analysis or strategy, you need to know how to map processes. That is one unique characteristics of a good business analyst. So let's go straight to process modeling. Process modeling on its own is a graphical representation of a company's business process or workflows, and it's a means of identifying potential improvements. It is used to indicate the general flow of system or business processes, and also displays the relationship between the major users and components of the business or of the system. Process modeling has its own basic rule of thumb. Some of the basic rule of thumb when modeling a process is that, first of all, you need to ensure that your data is flowing from your left to right. If your data flows from right to left, nobody's going to kill you and nobody's going to penalize you. But best standard, see how to make sure your data is flowing from left to right, except, and I say except, it is a returning flow. Returning flow is, let's say, for instance, you have a decision and then there's a negative, you want to return to the beginning, that can flow from right to left. But in that instance, it's most likely going to flow from bottom to up or from right to left. But when you are talking about process going forward, as in forward flow, or should I say positive flow, it should flow from left to right. Then place returning lines under the flow of the diagram. So as I said, except it's a returning flow or a negative flow, you place it under the flow diagram or you place it right to left. Then don't worry, I'll show you all of these things. It's looking abstract now, right? But I'll show you all of these things. Each of your process should have a verb and a noun, just as you have in your use case, right? Each of them should have a verb and noun. Some people might end up, some people prefer to make a statement, but your statement must have a verb and noun. Some people just prefer to have it as when you say create account, right? Login, request loan, and all of that, depending. Some people might go up and say borrower request for loan. But the fact is I must have a verb and a noun in it. Then every arrow in your process flow, very compulsory. This is the most compulsory thing in your process flow. Even though you don't obey the first, second, or third rule, every arrow in your process flow must have a head to indicate the direction of the flow. You can't have an arrow in your process flow that does not have a head. Every arrow in your process flow must have a head, and that is used to indicate the direction of that flow. Then arrows should not cross each other. This is a very difficult one to keep with, but if you're able to stick with this particular rule, fine. But if you're not, there's no bad thing if you omit this rule. So let's look at some of the benefits of process flow models. Process flow models helps in process identification, and that is one of the most primary use of process business process modeling. It helps to provide stakeholders with identification of that process. Number two, it helps to provide transparency. It makes the process to be so transparent, everyone can see the process end to end. It helps to ensure standardization, and that is why process models are used. Process flow models are used for SOP when you are documenting your standard operating procedures. It's also used for. It also helps to ensure agility and flexibility in terms of your objective and strategies for that business to see how to tweak or see how to change it. When you have your process flow models, you can easily see places to make alterations to. Now, how do we then draw a process flow model or process model? The first thing is to identify the process, right? And this is a sequence of activities where the process basically has a sequence of activity which is going to be executed in order to attain a particular result. So before we even talk about automating, right, without automating our workflow or thereabouts, before we talk about automating, the first thing we need to do is to understand the process and document it. So identifying the process, and then after that, we now create a model of that existing process. So let's say, for instance, now we want to improve Vertebra's hiring process, right? Vertebra hiring process. To improve that hiring process of Vertebra, first thing we need to identify that process. Okay, what is the process of hiring in Vertebra? We identify it, we document it, right? We write it down step by step. Okay, the first thing that is done that HR sends out a job advert or probably reach out to the person sends their CV, HR reviews the CV, calls candidate for interview. After interview, HR will assess the performance of candidates. Then after that, HR will send a job offer or probably negotiate with the candidates that is qualified. After negotiation, send a job offer, and then the candidate accepts the offer letter. And then after that, the candidate is given a date to resume, blah, blah, blah. So just document those processes, right? After documenting that process, the next thing we'll now do is to create a process flow model for that current or existing process that I've just said now. Remember, I want to improve, and I've just stated the exist. We just identify the current process. We create a model for that current process. After creating a process flow model for that current process, the next thing will now be for us to now look at, okay, in this model or in this process we have mapped out, what should be the areas of improvement? What should be the areas of automation, or what should be the areas of optimization we are going to look at? So process model helps us to look at the bottleneck in existing processes, and then we'll consider the issues and how we can improve on those areas. After that, we now then create the new and improved process. After I must have looked at areas we're going to improve, we go ahead to document the new process, and then create a model of that new process that we have agreed upon. So that is just the process of, that is the step in creating a process model, right? There are different tools, or should I say techniques, you can use to create a process model. Number one is a flowchart diagram. Flowchart basically, I'm going to show you a flowchart diagram, by the way. So it's basically a representation of something that is manufactured or produced, which gives people, which helps you to understand the step-by-step process in carrying out something. It's just a process. A flowchart is just bare, right? Talking about how it starts and where we go on and all of that. There's no additional formal detail provided on a flowchart diagram. It's just a bare process flow diagram. Then the next one is BPMN. BPMN is Business Process Management Notation. This is a technique, or should I say tool, that is very, very technical, very, very technical. Most business analysts don't know how to use BPMN to map out a process. But the truth about it is that if you are very good in BPMN, when it comes to process improvements, you see yourself flourishing in it. When it comes to mapping out an organization's business processes, you see yourself flourishing in it. So it helps. BPMN is more or less like a standard way of modeling a business process. Then we have the CPOC diagram. CPOC is basically talking about the supply, input, output, customer, product, and all of that. So that's what CPOC is. S is supplier, I is input, P is process, O is output, and C is customer. So that is, you use the CPOC diagram to look at all of that. But for this CPOC diagram is basically used by Six Sigma professionals. So we have those that are practitioners of Six Sigma, whether green belt or white belt or black belt. They basically use more of the CPOC diagram to model their processes. We also have the IPO, which is the input, process, and output modeling, whereby you basically talk about the input processes, and you talk about the input processes and the output processes. You use that way to also model your process, but it's not commonly used. The next one is a value stream mapping. Value stream mapping is basically a business process modeling tool that we use to analyze the existing and future state of a process. This helps us to map and also show critical steps as well as the flow of materials and information through an information. Of all these process flow models, most times when we are doing an IT project, what we basically use is a flowchart, or you can call it a cross-sectional flowchart diagram. BPMN, CPOC, IPO, value stream mapping are more tailored to organizational processing. Where you want to map out processes for organizational, CPOC has to do with when you're mapping out processes for that has to do with sales of products. Maybe you want to map out the sales process. CPOC diagram is a very good one to use. You want to talk about the value of a particular business process to the organization. Value stream mapping is another one to use in mapping. But for the common ones we have in our IT industry is the flowchart, or you can say cross-sectional flowchart that we use. Now, let's look at the process flowchart diagram, which we are going to be talking about, or can I say cross-sectional flowchart diagram. It has several shapes. Unlike the use case diagram and the context diagram that basically it has maybe 4 core components or 5 components, this has several shapes and components, which basically helps us to understand the processes. So the first is this elliptical, or should I say oval-looking shape, or can I say a curved rectangle that helps to talk about the start and the end. Every process must have a start and the end of that process. you can't have a process without having a start of that process. And you can't have a process without having the end of that process. No process is infinite. So every process must have a start and end. And this is what we use to represent a start and end process. This shape is what you use to represent the start and end instance of your process flow. Then we have the process itself, where you talk about the process or the activity itself, which is this rectangle. And then we have the decision. So decisions are like gateway, whereby you're saying something like, let's say for instance now, I want to map a login process. And I say for the process of login, we have starts, then you have borrower enters email address. The next process, borrower enters password. The next process, borrower clicks on login, right? Now, when borrower clicks on login, the system should be able to verify if that email address and password match together, right? If my email address was genesis@uptrust.org and my password is Genesis 11111, and then maybe tomorrow I come back to log in on Microsoft Teams and I'll use genesis@uptrust.org, which was the correct email. But then I go ahead and use my password to be LC11111. It means that the system should not allow me to log in, right? It should just give me an error that my password or email address is incorrect, isn't it? So that process of the system verifying whether password or email address is correct, that verification point, the system is making a decision. So at every point of evaluation or verification, we represent it with a decision shape. Decision shape in the sense that we'll be talking about, let's say in that case of login, let's say login details correct or login details valid. We are asking a question. If it is valid, I will say yes. If it is valid, yes, the next thing occurs. The next thing that will occur is that the system will grant the user access to the account. If it is not valid, we'll say no. And that no is that the system will notify the user that the email address and password is incorrect and request the user to log in again. And then we direct the flow object back to the point of entering email address and password. Then we have stop process. Stop process is used to represent a group of processes that is embedded in another process. So let's say, for instance, we want to talk about account creation. Another account creation, we also have the process of email verification or even confirmation under that. We can say, okay, let's just represent email verification as a sub-process instead of capturing email verification processes under account creation process. So can I say first thing starts, user enters first name, user enters last name, user enters this, user enters password, and then user clicks on create account. When user clicks on create account, the next will be user verifies email. And after user verifies email, the next thing will now be user have access to account. So we can now represent that email verification processes as a sub-process. Thereby, you can have 2 or 3 additional processes under that sub-process. Now, the next shape we have is the input shape. And this is a parallelogram, if I'm not wrong, or should I say if I'm right. So a parallelogram basically helps an input shape basically talks about data that is being imputed into the system. For instance, you want to import data into the system, right? Or probably not even import. A good example is, let's say you are creating an account on a platform. Let's say you are creating an account on Jumia, and Jumia tells you that you can create your account with your Facebook account rather than starting afresh. Create accounts using Facebook. That process of creating an account using Facebook, you are basically imputing or importing your Facebook credentials into your Jumia account so that your name on Facebook will be your name on Jumia, Your email address you use in creating your Facebook will become your email address on Jumia. The password on your Facebook also become your password on Jumia. So you are imputing data. So in those situations or in those kind of scenarios, you use your impute shape. Also, if you're also taking data out of the system, you also use this shape. So it's called an input output shape. Sorry, I did not put the output aspect of it. So you can call it input or output, right? Now, the next one is documents. The document in the sense that maybe you make a payment and you get a receipt. So documents shapes are used to show documents or file that is being gotten out of the system. Maybe you want to export a particular Excel sheet out of the system. You represent that using a document. Then we have database where you store your data, used to show storage location. We have external storage. If user data will be stored in an external platform or external storage, which is not internal to the system, you use an external storage. This particular one, this database is used for internal if this data is going to be stored on the system. But if it's going to be stored on a third-party solution, we use external data storage. Then the next one we have is the on-page reference. So on-page reference is when you are referencing a particular process that is on the same page of your process flow diagram. So if you have two or more process flow diagrams in one page, and you want to reference one of the processes in another process, you can use your on-page reference. But when you have different pages for your process flow diagram, if you want to reference a particular process in another page of your process flow diagram, you can use your off-page reference. Then the next one is your swim lane, which basically shows the pools and the lane. It helps to represent the various units, the various entity or actors or department or organizations or subsystems that are involved within the process. A good example is this. So let's look at that HR hiring process that I mentioned for Vertebra. When we talk about pool, we have a pool of the candidate, right? The candidate that wants to apply. Then we have Vertebra, which is the company the candidate is applying to, right? Inside Vertebra, we have other departments that are involved in the recruitment. So let's say if they want to recruit a developer, it's not only the HR that will be part of the recruitment. Even the technical department or technical team will be part of the recruitment, in the sense that the head of technical, the head of developers is going to send a request to HR to tell HR that we need an additional resource, right? And give the requirement of those resources they need. And then HR will now be the one to put in the job ad, candidate to apply. When candidate apply and comes for interview, HR, you might say, okay, first of all, let the candidate speak with the head of department before now speaking with HR for assessment and then speaking with management for negotiation and all of that. So all of those units or departments that are involved in the hiring process in Vertebra can now have their own different lanes in the pool of Vertebra, while the customer have its own lane in the pool of candidates, or applicants, as the case may be. Then we have the separator, vertical or horizontal, to show the separator lines. So this is a typical example of a cross-sectional process flow diagram. So we have the starts and we have the end. As I said, every solution must have a starts and end process. So we have the start, we have the end. So we have the process starting from here. The rectangles are the processes starting from here. If you see here, we have the decision, no or yes. Do you understand? Another decision, no or yes. Another decision, no or yes. Do you understand? This is a document talking about a list of a list of receipts that is being picked up, and this also documents that are being generated on the system. So this is just a typical example. This one is this is a lane, this is a lane, this is a lane, this is a lane, and this entirely is a pool. So we call it a swim lane diagram, right? Because they're all in a swimming lane. So this is basically a pool representing basically an organization, not 2 or 3 organizations. When you have 2 or 3 entities, then we can now have 2 pools for them, right? So this is a typical example of a cross-sectional flow chart diagram, how we draw them, and it's mostly high level. The cross-sectional flow chart is high level. So that brings us to the end of process flow diagram. Next week we'll go into what they call it, designs, solution requirements. You start looking at the different types of designs and how they are being done. Look at wireframes and all what is involved. Look at mock-ups, what mock-ups involves, and all of that. So we'll do that next week. We'll start looking into UI designs as the third part of solution requirement. But let me go ahead to show you. Let me open my Visio to show you an example of a process flow diagram, right? Okay, let me show you context diagram first. I remember I did not show you context diagram, right? So this is the use case diagram I drew last week. Context diagram. So typical example of a context diagram. Yeah, I have this is a solution called My View. And what is basically it's for where people can share their views. We have the companies who basically view the reviews from reviewer. They get data in terms of the report of review. Then they get confirmation on the payment. Then what information they put, they put their registration information, they claim their company, they create profile, they place ads, comment on reviews, request for reviews, and all of that. Then for the reviewer himself, he goes ahead to read reviews from the system. System supplies them reviews to read. System supplies them ads to read and to view. System supplies them company details to view. System also supplies them categories to view. And for the reviewer basically supplies the system with registration information, with review content, with rating content, with sharing content, with profile, with searching content. So this is the level 0, which is the context flow diagram. Now let's look at the level 1, how it looks like. So this is the level 1. This is level 1 context flow diagram for this solution. Have you seen that the data flow, the level 0, which is the context? Can you see my screen? Just confirm first.
Yes, I can see your screen.
So you see how the context diagram is just high level, talking about external entity and the system alone, right?
Yes.
But in the level 1, you go more detailed, whereby you now start talking about the different processes involved in this. So we have account verification process. We have account access. We have response. We have reviewing. We have to retain review. We have company listing. We have company updates. We have making your reviews public, listing your company in a particular category. These are different processes. And at every point, you're looking at what data is being supplied in and what data is being, this data supplied in, data supplied out. And these are the databases to show you that this is your database. So this is a level 1 data flow diagram. If I'm to draw level 2, it will be much more complex than this. Do you understand? A level 2 will be much more complex than this. That's why at every point of level of detail I want to go, I draw more processes. That is why I always encourage you guys, just stop with your context flow diagram for now. Learn how to draw context flow diagram or level 0 data flow diagram for now. Let me open a process flow document for you to also see. It's the longer I drew this document. So this is a traditional process flow document and not like a traditional or not a cross-sectional process flow. So we have the setting of budgets. Let me start with the login, right? Create account. So for create account, so account creation is belong. I drew this thing 2 years ago or last year. I can't even remember when I drew this. So you have, let me zoom in so you can see. Starts, user enters email address, user does this, user clicks on continue, user verifies email address, user enters phone number, clicks on continue, is they receive passcode. They enter phone number to receive passcode. If they did not receive the passcode, user can request that the passcode be resent to them. And when the passcode is resent, it comes back to the point whereby they enter their phone number. And I said this process can only occur 3 times. If after 3 times they don't receive the passcode, system should tell them to try again in 15 minutes. Right? Now, if the passcode was received, user will enter the passcode. User creates a new passcode, and then user re-enters the new passcode. If the passcode matches, it goes ahead to continue. But if it doesn't, it can retry, and then it can also retry several times to ensure that they provide a matching passcode. Then user completes the account creation and the process ends. The point of login starts, and then the user enters phone number, enters their passcode, clicks on login. If the credentials are correct, system loads the user's dashboard and it ends. But if the credentials are not correct, whereby I said no, the system will prompt the user of the error and request the user to try again. And the user will have to enter phone number and passcode again. Do you understand? So that's I said, this decision is used to know, yes, are we going forward? No, are we going backward? Changing of passcode, this is a process as well. Deleting accounts, this is a process for deleting accounts. Setting up security question and answer, the process. Setting up your budget, the process for setting up your budget. To set up your budget, user enters their monthly income amount, and in that, the system will intelligently populate the budget categories with the following this, and then add their budget category. The system will ask them if they want to add their budget category. If no, they go ahead to edit budget category. If yes, user will select a budget category, and then user can now select multiple budget categories to enter a budget amount. After that, they will be required to edit a budget category. If they don't want to edit a budget category, they continue to remove a budget category. If yes, they can click on a budget amount to edit that budget category, and then the process goes on and on and on until it comes to an end where they save their budgets. Also setting up budget goals, setting up their bills, setting up their savings and investments. These are different process flows for process flow diagrams for different processes within that solution. You understand? So we also have setting up loan, setting up merchant. I did not end up dropping all of those other processes, but these are different processes. And if you think clearly, you remember on your Epic has sign up, login, right? So you when drawing your process flow, you draw the process flow for signing up, for signing in, process flow for loan application, process flow for loan processing, process flow for this thing, repayments, the process flow for disbursement, the process. So you draw all of those processes. And that is how you're able to provide more clarity on your modeling and also on your specifications. I know this thing looks a lot more complex to you, right?
Honestly, but it's just like when we started the use case diagram. At some point, it was just normal. So I think if I try it 1 or 2 times, I should be able to at least get it.
Okay, no problem. That's fine anyway.
Yeah, because I'm looking at these different process flows for each and every activity that's going to happen on that system. That's from beginning to the end.
Yeah.
So it means that for one application, you might have over how many process flows, depending on what it entails.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, thanks.
All right. All right. So that brings us to the end of the session for today. I don't know if you have any
Yes,
questions.
before we end, you didn't show us where to find these the shapes
Oh,
on Visio. Yes.
okay. Sorry about that. So
Oh,
let's say these are the shapes. To find the shapes for both process flow and context flow diagram, you go to shapes, you see flowchart, right? Basic flowchart shapes. If you are not drawing
okay.
basic flowcharts, if you want to
Okay.
draw cross-sectional, cross-functional flowchart, you go to cross-functional flowchart where you have the swim lanes there. Is that
Mm,
okay? Yeah.
yes. Okay.
For data flow diagram, let me see if I can still remember how to get your data flow diagrams. This is for BPMN that I was telling you about. If you want to draw
Yes.
your BPMN, let me go to network. Oh.
Okay, I'm seeing Gantt chart. That's maybe for project
Yeah.
scheduling.
So your
Okay.
data flow diagram shapes are here.
That's software and database. You go to software, then data
Yeah.
flow diagram and shapes. Okay.
Yep. So that is them. There are so many things you can do with your Visio. You want to do a business modeling, that's in drawing business related things. You have business shape, you have business process, ITIL shapes, your value stream map, if you want to do that, your workflow diagram, if you want to do on that. For your charts and graphs, we have your marketing diagrams, your pyramid shapes, organizational chart, you want to draw organogram. We have all of them here. Pivot charts, pivot diagrams. For engineering, that is those that are into mechanical engineering, chemical engineering, all of the electrical engineering. Your electrical engineering shapes are here. Process engineering for chemical engineers, everything is here. Mechanical engineering, everything is here. Flowchart, as I mentioned, different flowcharts. General drawing to get basic shape, blocks, graph, want to draw graph or mathematical shapes. You want to draw a map, as in to map a floor plans in terms of building designs is here as well. You want to draw the map for the building, all of that, or map for an area. You have network, those that are working in network departments, AWS, whatever, scheduling, then the software and then Visio Extras, where you. So a lot of things you can do with your MS Visio, a whole lot of things.
Okay. Thank you very much. Because I've been trying to download it on my system, it's showing some errors that I already have Office installed on my system. So I went
Okay.
for alternative, which is Wondershare eDraw Max. So I'll try and see if some of these shapes are the alternative. I'll just ensure I have
Use Lucy
Microsoft.
Charts. Don't use Lucy Charts. That way you can use it online.
Yes, I can use it online, but what if maybe I want to send it to you?
You just send me the link of your Lucy Chart, or you send me or you export it as
Okay,
PDF and send to me. Yeah.
okay. So let me go back to Lucy Chat.
Or use draw.io. That is diagrams.net.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. I'm good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Much. All right, then. Do take care of yourself. Have
I
a
will.
wonderful evening.
All right. Thank you. So if I have
Thanks.
any more questions on my user story, I will let you know, please.
Sure, please do.
So